Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button if you've ever felt chills crawl down your spine in a place that's supposed to feel safe, like a hospital, a home, or even your own bedroom. Tonight's tale isn't some made-up ghost story to spook you around a campfire. No, this is real. This is what I lived through during my years as a night shift nurse in Ohio. Buckle up, because by the time I'm done, you might think twice about walking down a dark hallway alone. It all started on October 12, 2019, at 2:14 a.m. I remember the exact time because I'd just glanced at the clock above the nurse's station, willing the hands to move faster so my shift could end. The fluorescent lights in Ward 3B buzzed overhead like angry wasps, casting a sterile, bluish glow over the empty hallway. My sneakers squeaked against the polished linoleum as I hurried to check on Mr. Peterson, a terminal lung cancer patient in room 312. His heart monitor filled the silence with its steady beep, 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 a grim but familiar rhythm that kept me grounded in the chaos of night shifts. I was halfway down the hall when something stopped me dead in my tracks. A child's laughter. It wasn't loud, but it was clear, bright and tinkling, like wind chimes on a summer day. It echoed from the direction of the pediatric wing, a section of the hospital that had been closed for renovations for months. My stomach dropped like a stone. Kids didn't belong here at this hour. Heck, they didn't belong here at all with the wing shut down. I stood there, my breath caught in my throat, trying to convince myself it was just sleep deprivation playing tricks on me. I'd been pulling doubles all week, surviving on coffee and sheer stubbornness. That had to be it. But then the laughter changed. It morphed into crying, a high-pitched, desperate wail that sliced through the stillness like a scalpel. The hairs on the back of my neck stood straight up, prickling against my scrub top. It wasn't just a sound. It was a feeling. A wave of sadness and panic that didn't belong to me. I fumbled for my radio with trembling hands and pressed the button. "Doug, are there kids in the building?" My voice came out shakier than I wanted. A crackle, then Doug's gruff reply. "Negative. Pediatrics is empty. You okay, Sarah?" I opened my mouth to answer, but the crying stopped as suddenly as it had started. The hallway fell silent again, save for that relentless beep, beep, beep from Mr. Peterson's room. I forced myself to finish my rounds, but my skin crawled with every step. Something was wrong. I could feel it. 3 nights later, I saw her. It was another graveyard shift, and I was stationed at the nurse's desk, charting medications under the dim glow of a desk lamp. The rest of Ward 3B was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of stillness that makes you hold your breath without realizing it. I was scribbling notes about Mrs. Carter's morphine dose when movement caught my eye. A little girl skipped past the doorway, her yellow sundress swishing around her knees. Her feet were bare, slapping softly against the floor, and her blonde hair hung in matted tangles down her back. My blood ran cold, a shiver racing from my scalp to my toes. No children. No visitors after 8 p.m. That was the rule, etched into hospital policy and my own exhausted brain. I dropped my pen and bolted after her, my pulse thundering in my ears like a drumline. "Hey!" I called, my voice echoing down the hall. "You can't be here!" She didn't stop. She didn't even turn. She just kept skipping, her small figure disappearing around the corner toward room 307. A storage closet we used for extra supplies. I rounded the corner just in time to see her slip inside. My chest tightened as I pushed the door open, expecting to find her hiding among the shelves. Nothing. The room was empty except for dusty boxes of gloves, a stack of gauze pads, and a single IV bag dangling from a hook, its label faded and peeling. I squinted at it in the dim light. Expiration date, June 2003. 16 years past due. The air in the closet felt stale and heavy, like no one had disturbed it in years. I backed out, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack a rib. I radioed Doug again. Check the cameras. A little girl just went into 307. A long pause. Sarah? There's no one on the footage. Hallway's clear. You sure you're not seeing things? I wasn't sure of anything anymore, but I knew what I'd seen. Those bare feet, that yellow dress, they were burned into my memory. The next day, I couldn't shake it. My shift ended at 7 a.m., and instead of going home to crash, I headed to the hospital's basement archives. The place was old, built in the 1950s, and its records were a mess. Boxes of yellowed files stuffed into metal cabinets, some dating back decades. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I had to know if that girl was real. After hours of digging, I found it. A thin manila folder labeled Ward 3B, Incident Reports, 2003. Inside was a report about a 7-year-old girl named Emily Grayson. She'd been admitted for a routine tonsillectomy, but a medication error, an overdose of anesthesia, had stopped her heart. She died in Ward 3B on June 14, 2003. Clipped to the report was a grainy photo. A blonde girl with a shy smile wearing a yellow sundress. My hands shook as I stared at it. It was her, the girl I'd seen. That night, I went back to work with a knot in my stomach. I didn't tell anyone what I'd found. Not my supervisor, not the other nurses. What would I say? Hey, I think I saw a ghost last night. They'd laugh me out of the building or send me for a psych eval. But I couldn't unsee Emily's face, and I couldn't unhear that crying. She reappeared at 3:07 a.m. I was restocking bandages in the supply cart when I felt it. A sudden drop in temperature, like someone had opened a window to a winter storm. I looked up, and there she was, standing at the end of the hallway. Her eyes were black and hollow, two endless pits that sucked the light out of the room. The air turned icicle cold, my breath puffing out in little clouds. She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at me, her small hand raised to point at room 307. They forgot me, she whispered. Her voice was soft but piercing, cutting straight through my skull. I tried to run. I wanted to run, but my legs were cement, rooted to the floor by some invisible force. My chest heaved as I fought to breathe, to scream, to do anything. She took a step closer, and I squeezed my eyes shut, praying she'd disappear. When I opened them, she was gone. The hallway was warm again, the lights buzzing as if nothing had happened, but I was done. I didn't sleep that day. I sat in my apartment staring at the wall, replaying every second of that night. At 9 a.m., I called my supervisor and told her I was out. No 2 weeks' notice, no explanation, just, I can't do this anymore. She tried to ask why, but I hung up before she could finish. What would they say? Stress-induced hallucinations? Burnout? Maybe, but I knew the truth. Before I left, one of the older nurses, Carla, pulled me aside in the parking lot. She'd been at the hospital for 30 years, seen it all, or so I thought. You saw her, didn't you? She said, her voice low. The girl in the yellow dress. My jaw dropped. And you know about her? Carla nodded. Emily. She shows up before someone dies here. Last time I saw her was 2 years ago, right before a kid in the ICU coded. She's not here to hurt you. She's just Stuck. I didn't know what to say. Stuck? That word clung to me like damp clothes. I mumbled a goodbye and drove away, my hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I left the hospital in 2020 and never went back. I took a job at a small clinic across town, trading night shifts for daylight and quiet charts. But the place still haunts me. Sometimes, when I drive past at night, I swear I see a blonde girl staring from a third-floor window, her yellow dress glowing faintly under the streetlights. I don't stop. I don't look too long. Because deep down, I know she's still there, pointing to room 307, whispering, "They forgot me." And maybe they did, but I never will. It started on November 5th, 6:30 p.m. I'd been holed up in my classroom all day, slogging through a stack of essays on the American Revolution. My eyes were burning, my coffee was cold, and all I wanted was to get to my car and crash on my couch with a beer. The auditorium was my shortcut from the history wing to the parking lot. A cavernous room with creaky wooden seats and a stage that hadn't seen a play in years. I pushed through the double doors, my footsteps echoing in the silence, when I heard it. Piano notes. They were slow, off-key, like someone fumbling through Für Elise with stiff, untrained fingers. The sound drifted from the stage, faint but unmistakable. My stomach twisted. The auditorium was dark, the kind of pitch black that swallows light, and I knew for a fact no one was supposed to be there. The music teacher had gone home hours ago, and the janitor didn't play anything fancier than a mop. "Hello?" I called, my voice bouncing off the walls. The notes stopped mid-phrase, leaving a ringing silence that made my skin crawl. I fumbled for my phone and flicked on the flashlight. The beam sliced through the gloom, landing on the old upright piano at the edge of the stage. The lid was shut, dust coating its surface like a gray blanket. No one was there. No kid pulling a prank. No teacher working late. Just me and that eerie quiet. I took a step closer, my breath hitching when the whispers started. Hundreds of them. It was like an assembly gone wild, soft, overlapping murmurs, too many to pick out a single word. They came from everywhere and nowhere, swirling around me like a storm of voices. The temperature plummeted, a sudden bone-deep chill that turned my breath into fog. I spun around, my flashlight darting over the rows of empty seats, but there was nothing to see. Just shadows and that relentless whispering, growing louder, angrier, until it felt like they were inside my skull. I bolted for the exit. My sneakers slammed against the floor, my heart pounding in my chest. I hit the double doors hard, shoving with all my weight, but they wouldn't budge. The handles rattled uselessly in my hands, locked themselves somehow, trapping me inside with whatever was making that sound. I yanked again, desperate, my palms slick with sweat, until finally the whispers faded. The air warmed up and the doors swung open like nothing had happened. I stumbled into the parking lot, gulping cold November air, and didn't look back. I should have quit right then, but I didn't. The next week, I stayed late again. Stupid, I know. I can feel you judging me through the screen. It was November 12th, 7:15 p.m., and I was in my classroom, powering through the last of those essays. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, but I told myself I was fine. I'd survived the auditorium once. It was just a fluke, right? I packed up my bag, zipped my jacket, and took the same shortcut through the auditorium because apparently I hadn't learned my lesson. The room was silent this time. No piano, no whispers. I was halfway across when the projector mounted on the ceiling flickered to life. A grainy black and white film splashed across the screen, the kind of old footage you'd expect from a history reel. It showed a graduating class from 1985, kids in caps and gowns, smiling awkwardly for the camera. Except their faces were wrong. Every single one was scratched out, jagged lines carving through their features like someone had taken a knife to the film. My throat tightened. I hadn't touched the projector. No one had. I turned to leave, but then I saw it, a shadow figure in the back row. It wasn't a person, not really, just a dark, human-shaped smear, taller than any student sitting motionless. Then another appeared, 2 seats over, and another. They multiplied like ink blots, slithering toward me through the rows, their eyeless faces fixed on mine. No features, no mouths, just hollow voids where eyes should have been, staring right through me. I froze, my legs heavy as lead, my breath coming in shallow gasps. They moved without sound, gliding closer, their shapes twisting and stretching like smoke caught in a draft. My brain screamed, "Run," but my body wouldn't listen. They were 10 feet away, then 5, and I could feel their presence, an oily, suffocating weight pressing down on me. In a panic, I swung my elbow into the glass case of the fire alarm on the wall. The impact shattered it, and I yanked the lever down. The blaring sirens exploded through the room, a deafening wail that made my ears ring. The shadow figures vanished instantly, dissolving into nothing as red lights flashed overhead. I didn't wait to see if they'd come back. I ran, out the doors, through the parking lot, and straight to my car. My hands shaking so bad I could barely get the key in the ignition. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch, lights on, replaying it all. The piano, the whispers, those eyeless things. I wanted answers, but I was too scared to ask anyone at the school. What would I say? "Hey, seen any ghosts lately?" They'd think I'd lost it, but the next day I couldn't help myself. I cornered Frank, the janitor, in the break room. He was an old guy, grizzled and quiet, the kind who'd seen decades of school drama and never flinched. "Frank," I said, keeping my voice low, "what's up with the auditorium? I heard stuff." He didn't look surprised. He just sipped his coffee, studying me over the rim of his mug. "Teachers hear things," he said finally. "Footsteps, laughing, happens all the time. But you saw them, didn't you?" My stomach dropped. "Them." He set his mug down, leaning closer. "Back in '85, 3 students killed themselves in there. Some secret cult thing, pact gone wrong. Stabbed themselves with scissors from the art room, right on that stage. School covered it up, said they ran away. But they never left. Not really." I stared at him, my mouth dry. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" Frank shrugged. "Most don't see 'em. You're just unlucky, I guess." That was it for me. I transferred to a new school in 2022, a bright, modern place with no dark corners or creepy auditoriums. I told myself it was for a fresh start, but really, I was running. I couldn't face that stage again, couldn't hear those whispers or see those shadows without losing my mind. I thought I'd left it behind, until last month. A student from my old school emailed me out of the blue. "Mr. Carter," she wrote, "was the auditorium always this cold? I was there for play rehearsal, and it felt like a freezer. Someone said they heard piano notes too. Weird, right?" I didn't reply. I couldn't. Because I knew it wasn't weird. It was them. Still there, still whispering, still watching from the shadows. and I hope to God I never have to find out what they want.